A city council in central Ohio just turned down $5 billion and told the developer no. 2 states away, protesters outside a utility open house held signs reading, "You can't drink data," and an energy investment firm now says up to half of every data center planned in this country may never get built on schedule. We begin in Pataskala, Ohio, a city east of Columbus, where the city council voted unanimously to accept its planning and zoning commission's recommendation and deny aligned data centers proposal outright. The project would have been a 200-megawatt campus, 3 buildings inside the city's industrial park. Align told residents the facility would bring more than 100 permanent jobs and more than $5 billion in investment. The council said no anyway. And the fight is not finished, because residents had already gathered more than 500 signatures to force a public vote. That means in November, Pataskala voters will decide whether to ban large data centers in the city altogether, regardless of what any developer brings them next. That same anger showed up 2 states away, outside a Duke Energy open house in Mocksville, North Carolina. Residents who have spent months fighting data center development in Davie and Davidson counties turned the utility's public information session into a protest, holding signs that read, "We pay the bill, Duke takes the profit," and "You can't drink data." Duke is proposing new gas-fired generation across both counties. Yadkin riverkeeper Nicole Eastman was among the crowd, warning about what those plants, and the data centers behind them, would mean for the river's ecosystem. Her argument was blunt. These additional power plants are really just to meet the need of data centers. So it is not something the community members of Davie and Davidson County will be using. That opposition is now making its way into courtrooms in Wheeling, West Virginia. Residents fighting a data center planned for the former Center Foundry site in Warwood staged what they called a very public data center hearing in the 3rd-floor ballroom of Waterfront Hall. It was a forum they organized themselves, with city council members and community critics on the panel, alongside attorney David Croft, who has served as legal counsel for the developer, Silicon Foundation. That group has proposed investing more than $100 million in the vacant brownfield site. Meanwhile, the residents' civil suit has pulled in the state itself. Attorney General J.B. McCuskey moved to intervene, because the complaint argues that House Bill 2014, West Virginia's law governing high-impact data centers, is unconstitutional. And the money is starting to notice. Kimmeridge Energy Management told Bloomberg that as many as half of the data centers currently proposed in the United States are at risk of delay or cancellation. Not because demand for computing has softened, but because of political backlash and the sheer difficulty of building physical infrastructure. Managing partner and co-founder Ben Dell put it this way: the Silicon Valley model is running into a real-world infrastructure constraint. The firm points to rising litigation at the local level and bipartisan opposition in Pennsylvania, Texas, and Ohio, states once considered friendly to these projects. Kimmeridge has skin in the game, holding stakes in natural gas producers. And Dell says those delays would likely force cuts to gas demand forecasts. The pressure on the grid is only half the story, and water tells the other half. Austin is trying to write its rules before a single large campus is proposed inside city limits. Council members held a dedicated data center work session this week, ahead of action to begin amending the city's land development code. City staff recommended new siting and zoning standards for higher impact facilities, along with requirements covering water efficiency, noise, and lighting. Council member Vanessa Fuentes went further, saying she is pursuing a full ban on large-scale data centers in Austin, and would back a moratorium in the meantime. Her framing was direct. It is clear that data centers present real risks to our people, environment and local resources, and the city will not wait for a crisis to happen here. Meanwhile, the federal government is keeping old power plants alive to cover the gap. The Energy Department issued an emergency order under Section 202C of the Federal Power Act, directing PJM and Constellation Energy to keep Units 3 and 4 of the Eddystone Generating Station in Pennsylvania available to operate. From August 23 through November 20, each unit carries a capacity of 380 megawatts. The reasoning sits in the department's own reliability analysis. PJM is facing roughly 25 gigawatts of projected load growth, 15 of that from data centers alone, against about 17 gigawatts of announced fossil fuel retirements. That is a 13-state grid plus the District of Columbia. And the math no longer closes without plants that were supposed to be gone. Voters are about to get the final word in one Kansas city. The Emporia City Commission voted unanimously to place 2 citizen-initiated petitions on the November 3 general election ballot. Resolution number 3799 submits a proposed ordinance prohibiting high-impact data centers, a bar that could hold for as long as 10 years. A second question would ban battery energy storage systems. Both petitions grew out of citizen organizing that began after commissioners approved zoning changes this summer, opening the door to data center development. The effort has already been through a Leon County courtroom, where a judge ordered the question onto the ballot. Even if voters approve it, the ordinance cannot be published or take effect until the pending legal questions are resolved. And the financial commitment on the other side of this fight is staggering. Commissioners in Columbia County, Georgia advanced a memorandum of understanding covering a data center project worth at least $17 billion, among the largest private investments in the county's history. The counterparty is Kinetic Infrastructure Solutions, a subsidiary of Alphabet, and Google would occupy the campus. Roughly 23 buildings across about 1,900 acres at the White Oak Park property. In Appling, county leaders are explicit about the goal, which is to use that revenue to eliminate the county's share of property taxes. Currently about 40% of its budget, Google has committed to covering 100% of the energy infrastructure costs. And the site falls under a data center zoning district requiring 500-foot residential buffers, a 65 decibel noise cap and closed-loop cooling. Thanks for watching. If you found this useful, subscribe, leave a like, and drop a comment. It helps us cover more of these stories.